Hello and welcome guys, and today I'm going to show you my project Lancia Stratos Evolution, as I call it. So this over here is the carbon Kevlar center section. Of course, it's a bit buried in here. Have to keep everything out the way. Front nose is on the wall. Got doors, carbon Kevlar dash that's inverted, rear wing, and then group 4 round arches are up on there. The rear tail is so large that that's in a container. I don't have room for it in here, but here is the car. This is what I've got so far. So this is a T45 tube frame chassis car, and at the moment there's still quite a lot of more tubes to go in here, and then tons of cross bracing. So I've got the Alpha 24 valve V6, quite tight in here. I've got the engine set further forward than the other companies put them in, is to get to a better weight distribution. So I'm going to be right on 18 degrees on the CVs. They can easily go 22, so I'm nowhere near the limit of what the CVs will be. I've got Cosworth Group A uprights, and here's the front. It's a modified one, because originally Tate McPherson struts. So I've got a 16mm ball joint rod end there. I've got a 3/4 by 7/8 thread lower ball joint. Got the steering arms. There's various steering arms available for these, but I've chosen ones which keep the kingpin inclination and the tyre scrub absolutely within the limits. Got Wheelwood Superlight 2 forged calipers, 1 3/4 pistons, 44mm 4 piston calipers, Wheelwood discs, Wheelwood pedal box, be blade type anti-roll bars, give some indication where they're going to go. Tillet seat. Over here, this is the rear upright, the other one. And then all my brackets are Domex material out of the Netherlands for that suspension pickup brackets. So I've been doing this now for 3 years, but honestly I've only ever worked on it a few months at a time, and now getting to the point that I realise I've got to stop being sidetracked on other projects and get this one done. So the big push is on now to have all the welding done, all the tubes in by January. You cannot stop distortion with welding tubes. All you can do is minimise it by having the tightest joint fit possible, which I use this tool to cut my tubes. And of course you still make a mistake here and there. I've got a lot of offcuts I've wasted, and try and reuse them in other places. Key thing is to tack everything and to try not to do too much welding in one place at any one time. So all I can do is minimize distortion. But the thing is, it is coming out really well. It's only lightly clamped on this jig, which is anchored to the ground and leveled up using a combination of a laser level and good old water column levels, which the Greeks and the Romans used it. And so anyway, it's a good little base without buying something really fancy that would never really be used again. And so the key thing is that once it's all welded, well, I go back. I have to take this off the jig to fully weld it, but I need to get as many of the tubes in as possible, because each one adds its own little bit of torsional stiffness to it. And so once there'll be another tube in here, there'll be a cross brace over here, which will all be diagonalized over, triangulated. All that has to be in. Rear suspension pickups will be in that corner and here. You're going to have a very wide base, and then the top one is going to be a tube in here which is going to be triangulated. You can see in here, without putting things in the real place you can't really visualize. So I use a combination of utilizing real life parts, drawing it full scale. Here's my drawing boards. Well, I've got a big Draftsman one over here, AO size paper, and I'm doing a hybrid car, so hence I call it Evolution, because I'm following Lancia 037 geometry, because that was considered to be the best handling mid-engined, well, best handling two-wheel drive rally car ever. And why reinvent the wheel? The original Stratos had terrible geometry on the rear with McPherson's strut, and that's why they limited wheel travel, and that's why it was never any good in the gravel, because its geometry was, its camber gain was so poor in the back, and it had so much weight rear distribution that it created a lot of problems. On the tarmac it's brilliant, but in gravel wasn't very good. Not that I intend to run in gravel. I only want to drive it on tarmac roads, but taking that into account, I'm using the 037 geometry, which had a setup for pavement, as they called it, asphalt, then another one for terra, which means gravel, off-road. And I'm utilising, going to have 2 ride height points plus a different top A-arm point, so you can have a high ride height gravel, high ride height asphalt, and the same again in the lower position. The way the car's set up at the moment with the wheels, of course it's only set up on blocks of wood, but just to visualize it, is that this is set up at 160mm ground clearance. Now that is more than original Stratos, but I have a flat floor, whereas the original Stratos had dips in it low in the driver's seat. But I'm so small, and I don't care if nobody else fits in the car. I'm building this car for me. So hence the floor is flat, and I can raise the seat a bit higher than that, and so I will have more ground clearance than a copy Stratos or a real one, because they had dips in the floor and I do not. Over here you kind of visualize it on some of these drawings I've had blown up, that you can see in here how they lowered the floor in at the front there, dips, whereas I'm taking this 170mm distance. That is the distance I'm using as my flat floor, so I can end up with a higher, less obtrusions below, better ground clearance. Because, be honest, look at the roads we have to run on. Got speed bumps, potholes, so I can't have it stupid low, because, and then the high ride height will be 200mm ground clearance, which is what John Cross ran with his Lytton course that he ran for 6 years with a VR6 engine in it. And so I don't need to sort of guess where I need to be. He's proven it through rallying, rallycross, and won it a couple of times, the championship in Super Retro. that, you know, 200 would be the high ride height, 160 will be my low. And of course, I've, you know, picked his brain on what to use, and he used Superlight 2 forged calipers. And he says you need a lot more rear weight brake bias than people believe, because there is so much weight on the rear wheels on this combination. So I'm running the same combination he ran in his car, Superlight 2, and then he told me to run 0.7 master cylinders. So I'm doing that. So that keeps it, he actually used a 0.7 on the clutch as well, because he said he wanted to keep it more universal, but it is recommended for the Alpha to have a, you know, a 0.75, 19 millimeter. And since I'm not going to really race this car that much, I'm going to just stick with the recommended caliper that will work with the Alpha rather than having a compromise there. So I'm going to have got a cutting brake, but really that would only be used in very slow speed corners, because you know, there's such a tendency for it to rotate around, the rear end to rotate around the front with the weight distribution. But I do hope to improve it more than a standard car. I do hope to get, you know, another 5% on the front wheels over and above what the copies and the real ones had. But of course, won't know that until I get much closer. And I'm going to be very, very particular on weight balance. Once I get it fully welded and I get more and more components mounted, at that point I'm going to have it scaled up on 3 points, and I'm going to put weight in the driver's seat to mimic my weight. The fuel tank's going to be pannier tanks. This area will be all sealed off, and there'll be 2 pannier tanks, gap in the middle, because I've got cables and coolant tubes that will run through there, and a combination of coolant header tank, battery location, dry sump oil tank. Those are the items that I can move about to try and minimize any weight bias to one corner or another. I mean, everything works on a cross on, you know, if you weight transfer, you know, if you put it here, it takes it off the front, and you know, you take it off the left front and it comes on the right rear. So, but I'm going to do my very best to scale it as best as I can and minimize discrepancies in it. And I am going to only base the weight on my weight, single person, not with a passenger, because I don't tend to rally it, but I hope to be able to do some small events somewhere in Europe, but we'll have to wait and see. I'm a long way from that point, you know, at this a long way from there at this point. So I'll get back to you. Probably I'll do another video in January, and we've got a lot more done on the chassis. And at that point, I may have the center body mocked on as well, so that that'll give more more representation of how it's going to look when it all as I progress with it. Thanks for watching.